let's make some changes to the UI. Right now, it looks something like this, or this, where you click from the list and you see the image. There's a lot of layout issues, and especially on the iPad and on the Mac. We're going to aim for something more like this at the end of this video. First thing I'd like to do is in our list view, as you may recall in our pod model, we have this recent NS fetch request. It's defining the same thing that we have here. I want to make a small change to that. So instead of getting it by a string, let's make it just a little bit safer. Get it by date and sending false, still what we want. And then in our list view, instead of this, we can say fetch request our pod recent with default animations if we make any changes. So that shouldn't change anything. We don't need this right now. So I think, although we're going to add something similar in order to favorite photos at some point, let's just get rid of this to make things a little more clean. And I think we'll just leave this button in the UI for now. Let's build and run and see what we get. Okay, we're going to build here. Oh, got to put a slash there. Okay, everything looks the same. Now let's start making some changes to our UI. Right now we have this navigation view inside of our list view. I think what we need to do is eliminate this here and move it inside our content view. So we'll just wrap that around our pod list view. I'm going to close that, and let's get rid of it here in this view. And you may already see a potential problem here. We've got our task running off of the navigation view, right? Let's just comment it out for the moment and make sure we can still run. It's always a bit tricky when you're in here making changes like this. I think maybe the first thing we should do is take this list and we could move it into its own view, or we could, maybe we'll do this first, because this is kind of the goal here, is we want to get rid of this here and move it up higher. So let's create a new file. I'm going to name it Sidebar View. I don't know if that should be a capital B or not. We'll just pretend that it's not. I'm going to make a navigation link and with a destination and a label. I'll double click that to get the autocomplete. For the label, let's use a string protocol. We might change those to localized strings at some point, and we'll use a SF symbol clock, and we'll name it recent. Not the best name, but it's what we have, and then we'll have it show the pod list view. I'm gonna get rid of that. We'll build. Okay, it's building, that's good. So in our content view, once again, we'll add our new sidebar. And you can see it's quite nice. We can look at that content view and get a pretty good idea of the structure of the app so far. And then I'm going to get rid of this pod detail view here. I'm going to get rid of that extra space. We'll get rid of this extra fetching pods. We don't need it. And let's replace that. And I think we don't even need the navigation link anymore. Let's get rid of that as well. We might add something like that back at some point in the near future, but we don't need it right now. Okay, we've got a few complaints. Um, we see kind of an interesting bug here, a couple of them actually. Um, one is this, we probably need to put it in some kind of list view. And then the opposite problem here, where we've got list views inside of list views. So um, let's go into our detail view. I think the best thing would be to make it a section, at least for now. And then here in our sidebar view, let's add a list. Well, actually that's backwards. No, that's good. I think that'll work. And let's see what it looks like now. Okay, so we get this behavior here. And we can scroll down and we see all of our info, and each one is a separate section. It looks pretty good so far. Okay, I'm liking that so far. Let's see where else we can take this. So right now we're doing this check to make certain that pods isn't empty, right? Before we were using this pod to go ahead and open the detail view, we just don't need that anymore. I think maybe the best way to do this will be a switch statement. And we'll switch on pods. And if it's nil, we'll do, I'll just put a placeholder here for a moment. And then we'll say, we'll show our loading screen. And if it's not nil, we'll show our list, right? So let's go ahead and make those views. We'll need a loading view. I like having that on there. It makes it a little more clear what it is. And let's move this text inside of that. And then we'll attach the task that we previously had on our list. We'll attach it to that text. And we'll do more with this later. But this should get us by for now. Okay, so if it's nil, we want that view. And if it isn't, if it's just the default, we want this, right? So let's just grab everything in here inside our list, and then anything attached or modifying the list, right? We can actually get rid of this. We won't need that anymore. We'll call it list view. Returns some type of view. And let's see what we get when we run this. Okay, so it looks like it did a moment ago. Let's try it when we rotate it. You'll notice there's some problems, like if we hit recent, it actually reloads the view. We're still not caching these images in a way that I'm happy with, but we'll get to that later. So we've added this sidebar view. We moved our structure for our app into the navigation view. And we did just a little bit of cleanup, having that fetch inside our pod model as an extension. We'll add more later, so that's going to come in very handy. And then we made a minor change here where we changed it from a list to a section for a list. Let's run it on iPad now. Okay, that looks pretty good. You see, here's a problem here. I think we might just be trying to fetch too many images at once, so we're getting it canceled. At some point, we'll make maybe a row here that you can click to reload if there's a problem. We also want to maybe display an error that's a little more informative. And then just to be respectful to NASA's server, we probably want to start caching these images in some way. But now we have a much better layout across the phone and the iPad, and even if we build for Catalyst right now, where we can start adding things like maybe a date picker in this area, some different, pretty much this area will just be different core data fetch requests. So if we tap that, it gives us the results for that. So you might think of some on your own. I could see like maybe a favorites, maybe some that have never been viewed before. And then we've got plenty of room up here for say maybe a search bar. So until next time.